In a world that constantly pressures us, trying to shape who we are, influence how we feel, and control our actions, emotional manipulation often becomes a quiet but powerful force in many of our relationships. It wears many faces. Sometimes it's the soft murmur of guilt. Other times it's a loud shout of shame. At its core, emotional manipulation is an attempt to control, whether it's through fear, dependency, or subtle persuasion. But imagine for a moment that the key to breaking free from this web doesn't lie in external tactics or reacting in a knee-jerk manner to those who seek to control us. Instead, what if the real power is found in mastering oneself? What if the key to stopping emotional manipulation lies in cultivating the strength to define your own reality? This is where Nietzsche's will to power enters. The concept that true power doesn't come from dominating others, but from mastering yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, your actions. Nietzsche, a philosopher who often delved into the deep recesses of human nature, knew that the path to personal freedom and power was not a passive one. It's about asserting control over your own life and refusing to let others pull the strings. If you've ever felt like someone is trying to twist your feelings to their own advantage, then you're already familiar with emotional manipulation. It comes in many forms, often disguised as concern or affection, but at its heart, it is an effort to influence your decisions, your mood, and your actions without your full awareness. The emotional manipulator, whether a partner, a family member, a colleague, or a friend, has an agenda. They know that your emotions are powerful. They understand that our deepest desires for connection, validation, and approval can be easily exploited. And so, they pull the strings, hoping to elicit a specific response, molding your reality to their needs. But Nietzsche's will to power is the counterbalance to this. It's about seeing through these tactics, not just recognizing when manipulation is happening, but knowing how to stop it before it even takes root in the first place. Nietzsche believed that the strongest force within us is the drive to assert our own identity, to become who we truly are, and not who the world or anyone else demands us to be. It's a call for radical self-mastery, being so grounded in your own sense of self that the external pressures around you cannot bend you to their will. When you are anchored in yourself, when you understand your own emotions and responses, you are no longer at the mercy of others. Emotional manipulators thrive on the idea that they can sway you, create confusion in your mind, and make you doubt your own thoughts or feelings. But when you understand the nature of your own power, you see that their tactics are futile. Emotional manipulation only works when you are unaware, when you are caught in the web of your own uncertainty. The first step to breaking free from emotional manipulation is not about blocking people out or being suspicious of everyone around you. It's about becoming deeply attuned to your own emotional world. What are your triggers? What makes you feel vulnerable? When do you notice yourself becoming more reactive or defensive? Understanding this is the first step in disempowering the manipulator. It's like knowing the battlefield before the battle begins. When you are clear about your own emotional landscape, you are no longer so easily swayed by others. Their attempts at pulling you into their chaos become less effective because you are centered. You know your own mind, and more importantly, you trust it. This level of self-awareness, though, is something that doesn't come easily. It's not something you can force. It requires introspection, a willingness to look at yourself honestly, to uncover the parts of you that may be more susceptible to others' influence. You might have to ask yourself tough questions. Why do I allow this person to manipulate me? Why do I feel guilty even when I haven't done anything wrong? Why do I let their needs become more important than my own? These are the questions that allow you to begin untangling the emotional strings that others have tied to you. But once you begin to peel back those layers, once you really start seeing yourself, understanding how you react, what you fear, what you desire, you can then decide how you want to respond, not react. And that's where true power lies, in the choice. Nietzsche's will to power isn't about bending others to your will, but rather about asserting your own will in the face of external forces. When you know yourself deeply, you get to decide your emotional responses. When you refuse to let others define how you feel, when you decide to stand firm in your own sense of self, that's when you stop emotional manipulation in its tracks. Another critical aspect of this inner mastery, and something Nietzsche often spoke about, is detachment. He didn't mean detachment in the sense of turning cold or indifferent. Nietzsche believed that one could be deeply engaged with the world, but remain untouched by its demands. Detachment, in his terms, is the ability to see through the illusions that others present. It's the ability to witness manipulation without becoming emotionally entangled in it. It's not about withdrawing from others. It's about developing a mental and emotional distance that allows you to see the world as it is, not as others want to manipulate it to be. Emotional manipulators often thrive on pulling us into their emotional dramas, making us feel responsible for their moods or actions. They use guilt, anger, fear, or even love to control us. But when you develop detachment, you are no longer caught up in their narrative. You can observe their actions without becoming emotionally swept away by them. You understand that their manipulation is about them, not you. It's about their need to control, not your need to please or appease. In this state of detachment, you can set boundaries, something Nietzsche also valued highly. Boundaries are the silent assertion of your power. They are the invisible lines you draw that declare, "This is where I end and you begin." The power in boundaries lies in their clarity. The more you know yourself, the clearer your boundaries become. It's not about rejecting people, it's about saying, "This is what I will tolerate, and this is what I will not." And the beauty of Nietzsche's will to power is that once you know your boundaries, you are no longer afraid to enforce them. You are no longer swayed by guilt or fear of rejection. Your sense of self is strong enough that you don't need validation from others. When you hold these boundaries firmly, something remarkable happens. The power dynamic begins to shift. Emotional manipulators rely on your confusion, your doubts, and your willingness to overstep your own boundaries in order to accommodate their needs. But once you establish those boundaries, they lose their leverage. They can no longer play on your vulnerabilities. They can no longer make you question yourself, because you have already questioned and defined yourself. At its core, Nietzsche's philosophy is about creating something unshakable within yourself. It's about developing a sense of self that is so strong that it is impervious to outside influences. This is the ultimate goal of will to power, not to control others, but to master your own thoughts, actions, and emotions. Once you develop this strength, emotional manipulation loses its power over you. You stop reacting. You stop being pulled into others' dramas. You stop allowing anyone, whether family, friends, or partners, to control your emotional state. The final piece of the puzzle is to practice patience. Patience isn't about waiting idly for the right moment. It's about cultivating the strength to wait without being swayed. Nietzsche believed that true strength is not in reacting quickly to every provocation, but in knowing when to act, and more importantly, when not to act. Emotional manipulators often want you to react immediately. They want to provoke you, make you feel something, force you into a knee-jerk response. But true power comes from knowing that you don't have to react. You can wait, you can observe, and when the time is right, you can act with purpose. In the end, when you fully embrace Nietzsche's will to power, you become someone who cannot be manipulated. You become someone who stands in their own power, who makes their own decisions, and who dictates their own emotional responses. You are no longer at the mercy of others' manipulation because you've learned the most powerful lesson of all. Your emotions, your thoughts, your reactions, they are yours, and no one has the right to control them unless you let them. You have the power to decide who you are and how you respond. And that, in its purest form, is how you stop emotional manipulation.